Did you know the fear of public speaking is called glossophobia? According to magneticspeaking.com, about 7% of Americans have it. Now, 7% sounds small, but is actually about 27 million people. So if you have a fear of public speaking, you're not alone. Orators are masters at public speaking. Their ability to give a speech or presentation and have people feeling inspired is truly magical. Steve Jobs, former CEO of Apple, and Barack Obama, former President of the United States, are prime examples. Each hold the same 3 traits: passion, authenticity, and storyteller as master orators. Now, we will discuss how their traits and their communication styles led them to be part of the greatest transformational leaders in the 21st century. And hopefully you can incorporate these traits and develop them into your next public speaking event. Let's begin with Steve Jobs. First, I want to give you a quick synopsis of his professional background, and then we'll move on to his communication skills. He famously created Apple in 1976 with Steve Wozniak in his parents' garage. But after a few years in a power struggle with the board of directors, he was forced out in 1985. He then went to create Next, which is a computer platform company, which led to create Pixar. And they are known for releasing the first computer animated film, Toy Story. Now, in 1997, Apple merged with Next, and Steve brought the then failing company back to life. Unfortunately, in 2011, Steve resigned from CEO due to his failing health issues, and he eventually passed away a few months later. Now, still to this day, Steve Jobs is regarded as one of the best public corporate speakers. In this clip, I'll be showing you his keynote speech from Macworld 2007. And in case you didn't know, Macworld is a trade show dedicated to Apple and its computer platform. Here's the clip.
Category of things, the most advanced phones are called smartphones, so they say. And they typically combine a phone plus some email capability, plus they say it's the internet, sort of the baby internet, into one device, and they all have these plastic little keyboards on them. And the problem is that they're not so smart and they're not so easy to use. So if you kind of make a Business School 101 graph of the smart axis and the easy to use axis, phones, regular cell phones are kind of right there. They're not so smart and they're not so easy to use. But smartphones are definitely a little smarter, but they actually are harder to use. They're really complicated. Just for the basic stuff, people have a hard time figuring out how to use them. Well, we don't want to do either one of these things. What we want to do is make a leapfrog product that is way smarter than any mobile device has ever been and super easy to use. This is what iPhone is. Okay?
Steve's passion for technology came at an early age, and we can absolutely see it here in a couple different ways. The first is when he brought up a graph showing cell phones and their ease of use. Now, he was saying smartphones are pretty smart, but they're not so easy to use. His voice got higher, his tone got firmer, and he started gesturing more. He seemed generally frustrated and passionate about resolving this issue. The second is when he was talking about the leapfrog product, and Apple wanting to make something way smarter than the other smartphones. He emphasized way smarter to be dramatic. He also pointed to iPhone at the very end when it showed up in his presentation. All of these things combined, we can see that Steve Jobs is passionate about his products. Steve was known to be a straightforward person in the business world. His attire for presentations would be a black t-shirt, jeans, and sneakers. Nothing flashy, just simple. Interesting fact, research has shown that successful people tend to wear the same thing every day. Less time making decisions, more time to do things that you actually want to do. Now, his slides also show his desire to be clear and concise. If you take a look at them, they have very few words and minimal graphics. This was Steve, simple, clear, and concise. A good story has a protagonist, the hero, an antagonist, the villain, as well as a conflict and resolution. Steve showed the antagonist as other smartphone companies like BlackBerry and Palm. Remember, this is 2007. The conflict would be smartphones are not easy to use. The resolution would be the iPhone. Obviously, Apple is a hero in this story because they created the iPhone to resolve the problem. Steve Jobs liked to use this type of corporate storytelling in all his presentations to sell Apple products to developers and consumers. Now let's move on to Barack Obama. Again, I'm going to talk a little bit about his career, then we'll move on to his communication skills. Obama's political career started in 1996 when he was elected into the Illinois State Senate. During this time, he also lectured at the University of Chicago Law School on race relations and law. In 2004, he decided to run for the open U.S. Senate spot and won with 70% of the vote. In 2008, he won the presidential election with 52.9% of the popular vote, becoming the 44th president of the United States. This was a historical election because Obama was the first African American president. The clip I'm about to show you is from his victory speech that night. Here it is.
When the bombs fell on our harbor and tyranny threatened the world, she was there to witness a generation rise to greatness and a democracy was saved. Yes, we can. She was there for the buses in Montgomery, the hoses in Birmingham, a bridge in Selma, and a preacher from Atlanta who told the people that we shall overcome. Yes, we can. A man touched down on the moon. A wall came down in Berlin. A world was connected by our own science and imagination. And this year, in this election, she touched her finger to a screen and cast her vote. Because after 106 years in America, through the best of times and the darkest of hours, she knows how America can change. Yes, we can. America, we have come so far. We have seen so much, but there's so much more to do.
Obama's passion is different from Jobs in the fact that he's not selling a product. Here, theoretically, he's selling an idea, the hope of change. The intensity of his speech can be felt through his raised, powerful voice and his symbolic word choice. He also uses pauses and repetition, which help convey drama and confidence. Now, the audience responds to his passion. They can see it. They respond, yes, we can, after he describes a historical event. And some of them are moved so much by his passion that you can see tears in their eyes. The speech is about 25 minutes long, and I wish I could show it all. I would encourage you at some point to watch it. In the beginning of his speech, he starts to thank people who made the win possible. First is his running mate Joe Biden. The second is his wife. This is important because it shows a human side of him. He states that he wouldn't be standing there without the unyielding support of his best friend for 16 years and the love of his life. He also jokes that Sasha Malia earned that puppy that is coming with him to the White House. The mentioning of his family in speeches shows a vulnerability and charisma. He's just conveying that he's a regular guy with a wife and 2 kids. It is evident that Obama is telling a story during this clip. It is a story of Ann Nixon Cooper and all the events she's lived through during her time on this earth. He eloquently describes all the historical events that make up the United States of America. He actually begins the story with her being born in a generation past slavery, then moves on to women's suffrage, the Great Depression, and the World Wars. He paints a picture so wonderfully for the audience that they are transported in time through their minds. He ends the story with her touching her finger to the screen to cast a vote and hope for change. Truly, Obama is one of the great storytellers of our time. Now let's talk a little bit about transformational leadership. It's a leadership style where the leader and follower identify the need for change. The leader creates a vision for that change and then executes the vision with the commitment of the follower. In order to have followers, you must be able to inspire and motivate them. Having superb rhetoric skills enhances the ability of the follower to accept this vision. Now, as you can see, Steve Jobs and Barack Obama are masters at rhetoric. Their passion, authenticity, and storytelling skills are on par with some of the greatest speech givers of our generation. They are in the ranks of Walt Disney and Martin Luther King as transformational leaders. Thank you so much for watching, and you have a wonderful night.